So let's do that just as an exercise here. So we need to pick the bottom face. So we need to be in edit mode in order to do that. And I'm going to need to be in the UV editing workspace as well. We've got this face here. With it selected, we're going to rotate 180. Now, the image itself is not going to rotate, but its projection on the cube will do. So we can see here, it's there, and now it's facing the other way. And just to make sure, if I rotate this, you can see that it is indeed rotating on the bottom, which is pretty awesome. I don't know if you can animate UVs, as in UV islands. I know you can do distortions and everything. I wonder if you can...
Interesting.
Probably computationally heavy because you're remapping something on the surface of the object rather than manipulating the texture itself. So we certainly won't do that at the moment. So I've got those reflected as so. Awesome. So the next thing that I do here is give myself an idea of what I want to do. And painting in monochrome is absolutely fine in terms of like the style that we're going for. I want to go for a basic color. And then with my layering, I'm going to add things like shadow later on. So we've got more control over what's going on. Now, we will have more textures to deal with, and then we'll have to bake them down at the very end. So that's what I'm going to try and do over the next 20 minutes or so. I can't guarantee that it's going to be that quick. Right, so UV editing, I now need to stack these on top. We're happy with how things are looking, so we can start stacking them. So I'm going to grab this with the G key, put it on top of the other one, and all of these, I'm going to move them so they're on top of one another. And then we can just do a quick sanity check, and all of the sides are the same, and the top and the bottom are facing the right ways. So we've mapped everything how we want to. And this is why UV mapping, it more than just a simple cube here, can take quite a while, and it can be quite a puzzle in order to work out.
Melicon says, yes, you can animate UVs. That's how they do water materials.
Excellent. There we go. We've got ourselves an answer. I wasn't talking about the UVs themselves. I was actually talking about the UV mapping. I don't know whether we can animate the positions of these within Blender itself. Although why you'd want to, maybe just a pure academic exercise. So now I'm going to box select or border select our entire grouping, because otherwise I'll end up moving it away, and I don't want to do that. So everything there, scale. Now be careful with this, because if you scale negative, which is something you can do, if you go all the way and zoom in, it'll zoom back out, and it will flip the actual UV mapping, which actually can be a very quick way of flipping something around as
Which is
well.
something that you will sometimes do with sprites.
Exactly. And it's very useful to know that just scaling inwards, and because you're not scaling a face or anything along those lines, there's no need to worry about something being flipped. You're not going to flip a normal at that point. Now, these two areas here, so we've got our sides and our top and bottom. At this point in time, you'll notice there's a problem here. How on earth am I going to make sure that everything fits on here? How's that going to work? And with this basic geometry, it can reveal some things nice and early. So if I pop this one here and border select around there and scale that up and try and pop it here, there's a little bit of overlap here. And so whenever you're perusing on the internet and you're looking for models, 3D models, keep it clean, we end up with something called non-overlapping UVs. So what we've got at the moment is overlapping UVs. This can cause issues when it comes to potential lighting and things like that. But because we're going to be baking this out at the very end and not exporting what we're using, this is our working file, we don't have to worry about those issues. But we do have to worry about things overlapping. Now, what we could do here is go, well, actually, the sides are going to be more detailed than the top and bottom. So let's make the sides proportionally bigger. That's absolutely fine. This is a choice that you would have to make whilst working on your model. There is no right or wrong when it comes to this. You know what? I'm going to be clever here. Just like the 3D cursor that you have here, we have a 2D cursor. And I'm struggling to resize this at the moment and fit. Well, let's be a bit more clever about that and grab the 3D cursor. I think it's Control-Shift and... Oh, maybe you can't do that.
It's a real roller coaster, this sentence.
Right. Let's position our object in the corner, like so. And we could turn on absolute grid snapping to make sure that it is snapping properly. So we can go to increment, absolute grid snap. Then when we're moving something, it's going to be snapping to an underlying grid. And I wouldn't put something right up against the edge of a texture. I'd want it near the edge, but not all the way there. Otherwise, you can get a potential issue with seams and edges if something goes over the other side, and we don't want that. So that's that. Now I'm going to select this individual vertex down in the bottom corner. So we're going to scroll along and change it to vertex select. I'm going to press Shift and S to move the cursor to selected. And that's interesting because it's changed it to an average of all of these positions, which is they're all linked. These are all the same vertex, essentially. So that's something to bear in mind. Which vertex is that? So it's this one down here. So that's the vertex that exists on this face, and this lower face here. And some people, when they're making their models, will actually split all of the faces up so that you don't get this particular issue. It causes a huge increase in vertex data because instead of just the one vertex being there, there would be 3. So that's just something to bear in mind. You can actually split things up. And so in this particular case, what I want to do is turn off our what's we call it, the UV sync selection. I want to make sure that we've got a face selected first, this bottom one preferably, so we can actually match things up, and the top one. There we go. And then we want to select this individual vertex down here. Oh, what am I doing wrong here? This is a great example of me not knowing what's going on. So I want to select this individual vertex, but not these. I have forgotten how to do that. How embarrassing.
You are box selecting 2 vertices superimposed on top of each other.
Yes, I am. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, just avoid scaling to 0. Rotrix brought out a very good point there. If you scale to 0, you can't bring things back in the UV editor.
Because anything multiplied by 0 is...
yeah, you can't scale it back up from 0. I had a selection issue like this the other week, so perhaps you can help me out in chat here. Why can't I select just this individual vertex? I thought I could do that, and it's not working. I don't know if this is a change that I am unaware of. Anyway, let's forget about that for the moment. Reselect all of these here. Just this set of faces here. I was hoping to scale along using the 3D cursor as space, but instead I'll just sort it out manually. Not everything goes to plan, hey? Okay. That looks good enough to me.